pressure on the World Surf League Championship Tour is intensifying with every event. Each athlete has something to gain or lose with every heat, ride, and outcome.
Another big battle about to unfold.
The tour leaders are battling for the title.
Back at first, another lead change.
The rest are feeling the incredible stress of trying to stay on tour.
There's no holding back for her.
The rhythm he's carrying, he's not doing too much.
The men and women have arrived at the southwest coast of France. This world-class beach break will host a show of pumping barrels, explosive airs, and heavy shore breaks.
Conlog already swinging on the backhand.
Who will fold under pressure? Who will rise to the occasion? The time to find out is now.
But here we go. Felipe Toledo, first big air reverse of the event. And the current world number 2.
Stalling, the wave spins first and lets him out.
Geordie Smith, Jeep leader, in great form here.
Welcome to the 2017 Quiksilver Pro and Roxy Pro France. Welcome to a cool Thursday morning here in the southwest of France as the world's best. Anticipate fireworks in this lineup that's just starting to show itself with the sun rising and seeing that the waves are absolutely pumping. All the guys on deck for the Quiksilver Pro, like Wiggly Dantes, ready to compete. Our first seat of the morning will be Adriano de Souza, Connor Coffin, and Stu Kennedy after a few days off to check out the town, the sights and sounds. But yesterday afternoon, things came to life out here at the contest bank, and there's an epic free surf that went down, which gave us a big clue in that things could be kicking off very early with the Quiksilver Pro, stop number 9 of the World Surf League Championship Tour. It's always great to be in one of the best beach breaks in the world. Joe Trappell alongside former world champ Martin Potter. Good morning, Potts.
Good morning, Joe.
Feels amazing to check out our lineup, and why don't you just kind of give us a clue into the call today? It's absolutely firing out there.
Absolutely firing. Conditions are looking good. That wind is meant to go a bit more offshore during the day, so with the tides the way they are, I mean, it's all systems go. Round 1 is going to get underway here very shortly, and I can't wait. We've been waiting like a few days for this to kick off, but there's the first heat. What a way to start.
Adriano de Souza, former world champ, takes on Connor Coffin and Stu Kennedy to kick things off after a few days to wait. They even had to wait the opening day when the Roxy Pro took over the lineup. The Roxy Pro got the nod the next day, and we already have the semifinals stacked up and ready to go with Carissa Moore taking on Sally Fitzgibbons and Tyler Wright taking on Lakey Peterson. So these guys have had a little bit of time to set up their equipment. And there was a couple of days, even with the contest being off, they found different areas along this coastline to prepare for their opening day of competition.
Well, it's as you said, it's an uninterrupted stretch of coastline here, and you just got to follow where the sand is. There's obviously so many different spots you can go and hide away and surf. This is probably one of the more popular parts of the beach, Joe. La Gravière, which is really renowned for its tubes. It's real powerful, punchy waves. So we're going to see some, obviously, hopefully some barrels through the day as that tide starts to change.
Really feels like this is the stretch of beach in Hossegor that put this whole place on the map globally as a world-class venue. Stu Kennedy was well familiar with this part of the bank growing up in Lennox Head, Australia. Was able to make the Dream Tour in his second season competing on the top 34. As you see, it's early in the morning here. Not super early. I mean, it's already past 8:30 local time. The sun doesn't show up until just about at 8 o'clock. So the lights out there, the word's getting around town that the contest is on. Thanks for being with us around the world. It's about 11:30 in the evening back at Santa Monica headquarters for the World Surf League. Same time for Connor Coffin's family up the road in Santa Barbara. It's about 5:30 in the evening back where Stu Kennedy's from in Lennox Head, and Adriano de Souza representing Guarujá, Sao Paulo, Brazil. We know people set their alarms for 3:30 in the morning to watch one of their heroes compete.
You know, they're up there too. You know, South American fans super passionate about the sport of surfing.
And we finally have our opening wave of the Quiksilver Pro, de Souza. Nice rail work to kick things off. High line wrap. 2 turns out of the way to kick off the morning. Nice draw out front for a man they call Mineirinho. Little inside double up, bottoms out. De Souza unable to accomplish the finish. Now Stu Kennedy up. Kennedy finding a finish well overhead on the sets. Absolutely pumping for this first round of competition. Seemed like just a amazing running right in the early morning warm-up that we saw, Potts. Expecting some amazing rail work like we've seen already in those first couple of waves. What else is coming to mind performance-wise on a day like today?
Well, it's as you can see of those last two waves, it's going to be that critical finish to the wave. I think that's where you've got to stamp your authority. That's where you've got to really punctuate your scores. You've got to finish strong. It's going to be a real sketchy ending to the wave. It's going to dump. It's going to really throw out. So these guys are going to do a lot of rail work and then go for that last big turn. So as that tide gets lower, we're going to see that become a lot more critical. We're going to see it a lot hollower. De Souza's wave, you could tell, nice opening maneuvers for him, just getting things going here this morning. That clean, smooth style that we're so used to seeing from De Souza. And then watch this end section. He goes over the little double up and then goes to finish off with that critical end there, gets swallowed up. So it's going to be real important to finish off your wave strong. And there's that rail work that we talked about with De Souza. So used to seeing him just really put that rail in the water. Nice, clean, smooth surfing from De Souza. First couple of waves here this morning. Judges will be working out the scale. They'll be those two waves will be the benchmark for the rest of the day.
Adriano De Souza, the headliner in this heat, being a former world champ, winning the season after Medina clinched, making it 2 in a row for Brazil. As we wait for the scores to come through from the opening exchange, we'll say a big good morning to our very own Rosie Hodge with Deputy Commissioner Travis Logie.
Good morning, guys, and we're just so happy to see the contest get underway. Trav, you've had an eye on the conditions. What's the call for the day?
Yeah, Rose, obviously we're underway. The swell's firing. It's actually quite a bit bigger than we expected. And we've got lovely right-handers coming through with a couple of lefts out the back. So we're going to get going. Round 1, see how far we can get. Round 2's on standby, so are the women. The tides are so big here and there's a lot of swell around, so we'll see how we go through the low tide. But right now it's pumping.
And we see that the jet skis are on the water at the moment. What's the deal with jet ski assist today?
Yeah, we call it jet ski assist because there's a lot of water moving around and it's going to be a lot of hard work out there. So just to minimize the work and get the boys out in the lineup as soon as possible, we call it on. So they'll be picking them up on the inside and swinging them around.
Looking forward to some high-quality surfing, boys. Back to you.
Thank you, Rosie and Travis Logie, for the call. Rosie and Travis both formerly on the championship tour competitively. Travis now the deputy commissioner. We see him at all the QS 10,000s as well, and he'll get the call up to the CT as well to make those big calls. One of the fastest goofy foots in the business when it came to transition through his turn spots.
You know what? He still serves pretty good at the moment. I mean, I reckon he could re-qualify.
I bet he could. All the pressure's off now, and you're like, wow, you're still doing
exactly.
championship tour level surfing. I guess that never ends. You say you hang up the jersey, but Potts, you're still just as competitive as you were back in '89.
Yeah. You'd have to say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Once a competitor, always a competitor, Joe. I don't think that ever leaves. You know, it just transforms into other parts of your life that you still trying to maintain that sort of competitive streak.
And that just will to win. Everyone finds the formula that works for them. For De Souza, he just put it down to hard work, never giving up that dream. Coming from humble beginnings in Guarujá, the famous $7 surfboard his older brother gave to him changed his life, not just for himself, but his entire family as he became a world champion. This venue for De Souza hasn't been one of his consistent strike events. He's had basically every result in the book when it comes to competing at the Quiksilver Pro. His high mark is a semifinal, and he's just reached that 2 times in his career. So it's been one of those events that keeps him guessing, but a lot of the guys on tour can say the same thing with how tricky this lineup really is.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard one to work out. When you've got 15, 16 foot of water moving through the tides, it's ever changing. So, you know, you've got to have a real loose sort of strategy as far as thinking on your feet. Here we go.
Catching up to the backhand whip from Stu Kennedy. Big backhand carve, tried to drill the end section. Incomplete on that finish. Scores in from Stu's start. 5.33, the best number so far. And De Souza locked in a 4.67, getting that first wave. Connor just a 0.5 to his name as he's being selective at the moment. And now last score for Kennedy, 2.5 as he gets back out into play. I know, Potts, you loved having the jet ski assist in your... Well, wait a second. They didn't have that How nice is it to have it in conditions like this so we can actually see them catch a lot of waves today?
Yeah, no, it's a great addition. Not just for safety-wise, but also, as you said, to get them back out into the water, into the lineup as quick as possible. And we get to see a lot of surfing done, which is what we're here for.
You see how strategic they are with picking up all the athletes and getting them back out to the takeoff zone very quickly. We are just reminded of that round 5 back in 2014 when it was absolutely bombing. John Florence had a field day out there, multiple 9s comboing the field. And it just felt like he was doing a free surf with one of his best friends doing step-offs. He had such a good connection and tempo. The surfers often are giving directions as well of where they want to sit. And Florence was just dialing every bomb that came through. It's round 5 I don't think we'll ever forget.
Yeah, this is Stu Kennedy's opening wave at 5.33. Some smooth surfing from him. And then finishing strong, which we talked about. You know, you've got to make sure you connect with that last turn of the wave. That's where, you know, you can really add some points on. And then his 2.30, I beg your pardon, he kind of got caught by that set. So the jet ski coming in to get him back out into the lineup. And Joe, that's what the judges will be using today.
That's right. Looking at the WSL rulebook, we always look for commitment, degree of difficulty, innovation and progression, combination of major moves, variety, speed, power, and flow. All the same words for every venue on tour, and that turns into numbers, 10 being the best. And it's hard to come by these days. We had one event, though, where it seemed to be raining 10s earlier this year at the Corona Open at Jeffreys Bay.
Yeah, which is kind of rare. Pretty hard to get 10-point rides with maneuvers. You sort of look to more the cloud break, the chopus, the pipelines, where you really expect a lot of 10-point rides just due to the nature of the wave. Jeffreys Bay, in my eyes, one of the hardest waves to get a 10 on. So that's how good the waves were for the Corona Open. Absolutely bombing. It was a 2-week straight surf fest, really, wasn't it?
It sure was. Oh, so fun to look back. You can check out all those previous events on WorldSurfLeague.com and check out the Heat Analyzer as we talk about wave selection today. It's a phrase that is used every single heat, every single event, because it's so important for the best surfers to find the best waves and select the best out of the lineup to move on to the next round. Remember, you're only scored on your top 2. There's certain guys that always seem to get the best waves in a 30-minute matchup. As Potts, you're always emphasizing how important wave selection really is.
Absolutely. You know, obviously there are the exceptions to the rule. You know, you look at the likes of Toledo, Medina, John. There's a handful of guys really that can catch, you know, average waves, so to speak, as they don't really need the best waves out there to get the big scores. Why? Because they've got that progression element. So there are exceptions to the rule.
You loved how some guys don't really need to wait for the golden eggs, as we call them sometimes, or the gems out of the lineup. They can just, with their performance, can turn big numbers. And there's certain guys that oftentimes are getting perfect 10s. It's our favorite number in pro surfing, and we've had quite a few of them this season. Having a look now, Stu Kennedy. Big tail whip out the back. Great first turn. Smooth off the bottom, and a big tail drifting hack on the finish. Total commitment for the Australian to try to flex that lead. That 2.5 is long gone.
See, there's a perfect example. I mean, that definitely wasn't one of the best waves out there. So Stu Kennedy understanding and having that high wave IQ to a sense of, you know what, this is not going to offer me this long, beautiful, stretched out wave. It's going to be short, it's going to be punchy, so I've got to really go for it. And those 2 maneuvers, throwing the tail out on both of those, is, as you said, going to improve his scoreline. This was on the way back out, so he's keeping a close eye on this wave. Nice big snap off the top and then straight into the next maneuver. So critical turn there at the end. Showing some progression, showing a little bit of pizzazz and that X factor that Stu Kennedy does have. Nice deep bottom turn, which sets up that last maneuver through the lip. And you can see critical stuff there. Why? Because the fins are out the back of the wave. He's coming down literally backwards, engaging those fins and then spinning the board back around. So that is going to be the best score of the heat. And Stu Kennedy's going to take a pretty solid lead right now.
The surfers are so psyched on our lineup right now with solid conditions to kick off the Quiksilver Pro. Scores in for Kennedy, a 6.67, extending his lead over to Souza and Connor Coffin. When big numbers are coming in and Solid set waves out the back. One man we can hear everywhere around the contest site is our very own Strider Raspberry Wazalewski. Waz, how are you containing yourself down there?
Oh, it's been a lot this morning, a lot of action on the shore break, watching these guys on the jet skis flying around, just trying to get the surfers back into the lineup. I think that's the toughest job of the day so far.
Strider, thinking about your board that you'd ride on a day like today, are we seeing a big difference in equipments from what happened in the opening day of competition?
Yeah, I think definitely they're going to be thinking about a bit of a step up. Equipment's going to be huge as you watch these guys gliding in, trying to find these waves. Not easy. Stu Kennedy, though, looking like he's just on fire in rhythm, finding waves, going to the air right there, sliding through. He's just really putting together a great heat so far, but attacking. Stu looks like he's riding a normal board. I saw Federico Moraes talking about riding maybe a step up. Wiggly Dantes psyching for a little, about 1.5 inches more in his boards. One of the key notes was what kind of fin systems they're riding and what they have in their boards and whether or not they're going to use the extra screw in the back. As you can see, an FCS2 fin system right there. So with that system, you want to maybe put the screw into the back there because it could be something where it could, you know, with the jet ski assist, just a little touch on the back of the fin could pop the fin out. So something to think about for the competitors today.
Good man, Waz. Watching De Souza now, just wrapping that first carve back into the source. Big end section already. Has to fight for the finish, but he'll get that one. A two-turn combo. Remember, judges always making comparisons. They've got the Stu Kennedy version of a two-turn combo that had a 6.67. Potts, which one are you liking better on your first reaction?
Well, I think just the bit cleaner finish on Stu Kennedy's one. De Souza, that first opening turn. I love that rail work that he's got. Watch this, the ability to hold the edge. He holds it, and then drives off those fins. Waiting for the end section there. A little bit of a wobble, but came out nice and clean. So, I mean, it's going to be his best wave, no doubt. Stu Kennedy's wave, setting this up. This is just a small score. You can see the widening of the stance really is telling the judges, telling us that he's going to go for something big. Going for the big alley-oop there, not quite riding out of that. But you can see how they widen their stance. They get nice and low. And then using that lip to project them up into the air. Maybe didn't get quite as high as he wanted to, didn't quite get the rotation. Landing backwards, very tricky landing right there, and spun around nice and clean, but just didn't quite hang on to that. So not going to be a keeper score for Stu Kennedy.
That maneuver is so fun to watch. Remember seeing the first few where guys would just loft it up there for that alley-oop and always land backwards and spin around out of it. These days, it just is constantly a full rotation where you can land forward and go right into another maneuver. I love seeing that alley-oop done with really high speed, a lot of loft, and oftentimes it's pulled out 10-point rides, the John version of that in Indonesia at Karamas at the CT level. Julian Wilson's done one for a perfect score as well.
What about Bells Beach against Mick Fanning? John did a pretty huge one. Radical
aerial, especially on a wave where you're expecting overall performance from start to finish. Guys like that who have that ability to do that air can change the game in competition. Connor Coffin out the back with priority. Looking for his real first score of this heat. Speed jam off the lip. He's got a lot of momentum. Draws that arc under the hood and he'll step off. So Potts, we're seeing a lot of two-turn combos. Connor being more selective. Found a wave with a bit of size and accomplished his best score so far as things are starting off in a big way here at the Quiksilver Pro with big heats to come with Owen Wright on deck to kick on Pete Durbridge and Nat Young. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Quiksilver Pro. We're in the opening heat of the contest. Stu Kennedy taking on Adriano de Souza and Connor Coffin. De Souza, 2015 world champ, clinched with a Pipe Masters victory a couple of years back. Even last year, the year to follow world title sometimes is your hardest. He did well to keep himself as a top 10 name and ended up winning another big event this season at Sakurema as we take another look at Connor's wave before the break punts.
Yeah, Connor Coffin needs to get himself into this heat. I love that last maneuver. And a 4.33 for that one turn. That first maneuver, not really a keeper turn. Here we goes again.
Connor on his another effort, pulls in real quick. Already out, there's that layback hack that usually he has on lock. That one takes him down.
Got to finish those off, don't you? Nice little barrel. We expect to see more of that today. A few more barrels coming through. Let's have a look at Connor's wave here. I love the shot. You can see the work done inside the tube and then going for that trademark snap, but just catching that outside rail. It's not going to be a big score, this one. Why? Because he didn't quite disappear, so not a deep barrel, and then fell off on the end. You can't afford to do that in this at this level. You've got to finish your waves off. The judges have made it quite clear these guys are the best in the world. They have to act accordingly. You want those big scores, you've got to get nice and deep in the barrel. You've got to finish your turns off. You've got to finish your wave on your feet if you want the score.
That's right, 10:15 on the clock. Still the opening heat of the Quiksilver Pro. 6-1-0 for Lasso de Souza as he's fighting for the lead with Stu Kennedy still out front holding priority. I'd like to say a big good morning to our head judge, Richie Porter. Richie, thanks for being with us. Standing by for the call, Richie Porter. He gets busy. He's got a job that's already underway here first thing in the morning, watching scores, watching the replays on the screen. So oftentimes he hangs up on us, and you know, it's not being mean.
It's not personal.
He's got a job to do.
It's business.
It is. Kennedy out front, 6.67, 5.33s. We'll be catching up with the panel throughout this event. It's been nice getting insight from their point of view on how the scale is set, especially in the first heat of the morning, with brand new conditions that we obviously can't compare to what we saw in the first 2 days of the Roxy Pro. It looks like a totally different lineup today.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think what we'll hear from Richie is commitment, degree of difficulty. Those combination of major maneuvers is what the judges will be looking at. Two-turn combo. So, you know, you do that big opening maneuver and then set that last turn up and really connect with it. Obviously, Stu Kennedy's won the best wave so far at a 6.67. So that's kind of the benchmark. That's what they'll be looking at to sort of judge other waves.
So 8:50 on the clock here. Once again, Owen Wright coming up next against Bede Durbridge. Bede in his retirement season. That'll be a special one to watch. Owen still in a contending spot for the world title race. We've kind of seen the return of Nat Young as well. Thought he was going to be off tour this year with the high seed. He's been called up quite often with injury replacement wild cards. As we know, Kelly broke his foot back at Jeffreys Bay. So Nat Young now preparing for the rest of the season. Then right into Wilco as he's trying to put himself a little bit higher up in that top three picture. Heading into Portugal and Pipeline, continuing with Connor Coffin now. Just a quick up and down. That's why this is our favorite part of the year, though, Potts. We're looking at the event in Portugal for the men. Right after this, it's Super Tubos and Peniche. And then right into the Pipe Masters to follow. Every heat counts. Every number is crucial. That comes into the screen as we've got a hold of our head judge, Richie Porter. Good morning, Rich.
Morning, lads. How are you?
Going we're fantastic up here. Loving the conditions on offer today. Can you give us a little breakdown on how you guys are setting the scale so far? We've got a high score of a 6.67 for our surfer in white.
Yeah, the waves there's some great sections out there, let's be honest. You know, it's a tricky way to find them, but when you get them, as we saw Stu with his 6.67 with those two turns in the power section of the wave, and that's what the guys like wherever we go in the world, when it's waves where there's multiple sections, you're looking for those critical sections, and that's going to get you the big scores when you hit them. And as you can see, the guys really have to hang on to land those turns because the power's right there today, and it's going to be a great day for sure.
As we also got the message, Rich, that we have the jet ski assist for today. How was that decision made this morning?
Well, we want the contest to be about surfing and not guys getting stuck inside. And, you know, as surfers, there's so many times that we all sit there and go, oh, God, I wish I had a jet ski instead of getting 10 waves on the head and getting flogged. So we've put the skis in the water. It's really tricky for the ski drivers, and they're doing a great job. You know, we saw one get washed up this morning because they run out of water in the shore here because it's such a short gap between the actual shore break and dry sand. So the ski drivers have got their work cut out for them, and it's a decision that the surfers have to make. If they get one of those waves halfway, do I get on the ski or do I paddle out? So I've seen a bit of both of that, but the skis are out there just so that if the surfers catches a wave and gets stuck with a 10 wave set, he's got an option to hop on the ski and hopefully get around and catch some more waves rather than sit there paddling.
And Rich, we often see our photos and images and remember big heats where you have big barrels on offer at this section of the sandbank. Richie Porta will be now watching this wave. We'll catch up to him in a moment. Connor Coffin from Santa Barbara loves that green rail line. He hops out. And Richie Porta is going to get back to business as we get close to the 5-minute warning. So we'll be catching up with him throughout the event. Always love to get that insight, especially first heat of the morning. It's probably smart for all the competitors on the top 34 to listen in as well, Pucks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always important to understand what the judges will be looking for during the day. And obviously that will change heat by heat because conditions will change. Stuff you might see in this heat may not happen in the next heat because of that tide moving at such a rate. So with that tide moving out, we'll see the wave breaking further off the beach, and that end section will become a lot more critical.
As we check out the heat recap for the first heat of the Quiksilver Pro, had to wait till day 6 of the waiting period to get things started, but they were fired up because they knew it was going to be pumping to kick things off. A nice, solid, stretched out right, serving up Stu Kennedy's weapons. Big tail drifts out the back, comboing it up with another one. Brilliant, right in that critical section like Richie was referencing, and Stu is still out in front, Potts.
Yeah, great control there to walk to right out of that one, but watch out for Adriano de Souza. He's coming back, a 6.10 on this occasion. Really showing some commitment on that last maneuver. Big sets out the back, here we go.
Little roll in with the whitewater for Kennedy. Just searching for a place to do the junior Birdman kick out the back. Feels good when you got a lot of speed and you just fly off the top. For Stu, he's looking for big sections and scores to try to really make a big break in the last couple of events of the season. Wearing that white jersey shows that you're the lowest seed in opening round matchups. Coming into this event, 31st on the rankings. And as we know, it's the top 22 to requalify. As we see, one of the legends of the sport, Bede Durbich, former pipe master, former Triple Crown champ, saying goodbye to the championship tour this season. But what we've witnessed at every event, he's kind of following suit of a lot of guys that say it early, and he's doing his best surfing to date, Potts. I hope we can change his mind next year.
No, I doubt it. I think he's made his mind up. You know, he's had an amazing career, something to be really proud of. He's accomplished a lot. And, you know, just to get himself back to where he is at the moment, you know, unbelievable work done. You were sitting next to me when he had probably one of the worst wipeouts we've seen at Pipeline. And, yeah, it's good to, I mean, walk away, beautiful career, and he's still surfing well.
Gosh, you just brought me back to that moment, Potts, at the Pipe Masters in the heat with one of his good friends, Keanu Singh. Keanu was so nervous to see what happened, and we were just so impressed at the recovery from Bede Durbich. Got himself in a position to compete at the Triple Crown last season.
Huh.
And then returned to the Pipe Masters to throw himself over the ledge once again. Speaking of Keanu, he's got the wild card for this event. He'll be able to defend his title at the Quiksilver Pro. And he's got yet another matchup with reigning world champ John Florence and Italo Ferreira coming up in a few heats from now.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see Keanu back. As you said, giving him opportunity. I love that the WSL gave him a wild card for this event. Obviously not requalifying last year. So WSL giving him that wild card to come back and try and win this for a second time.
What a great matchup, especially with Keanu's track record against John. He beat him here in the semifinals last year on road to that victory over Medina. As we focus on Kennedy's year, It's been tough. 13th is a round 3 loss. A 25th is a round 2 loss. So he started off with a series of those. Finally built up through the conditions at Cloudbreak to the round before the quarters, but also trying to build out of that 30 range on the QS. You saw him compete down at the 10,000 in Qashqai spots. The first thing he said to me was how amazing he looked in competition.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he looked sharp. He looked good. I thought he was surfing incredibly well. But it's just that's how tough it is. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. You know, 32 in the world at the moment, you know, needs to really get a move on, needs some good results coming into the back part of this year if he wants to requalify. Obviously, 2 10,000s left in Hawaii, so he knows what he's got to do. A step in the right direction at the moment, though, leading this heat with just 1 minute remaining. Now, when we're talking about Bede, that big set came through and just literally cleaned the whole lineup, and I think that's what's going to happen as this tide gets lower. These guys are going to really have to reposition. At the moment, probably looking for the medium-sized waves that are going to be the scorers. Those big set waves will catch them inside, but I'm sure as this day progresses, we'll see them change up their position in the water.
Well, De Souza got his 6-1-0. That's keeping him in a dangerous position to try to steal the lead off Stu. Only 2 waves in this heat for De Souza, where Connor and Stu have been very active. Just takes your top 2 scoring rides. You throw away the rest on road to try to get your victories in this non-elimination round, where 2nd and 3rd are reseeded into round 2. Kennedy with 3rd priority, so he's on the inside. Driving down the line with 10 seconds to go, goes for a big reverse, and he's down. He's gone for a couple big airs and some chunky sections. De Souza now looking to steal the win. Up before the buzzer. This one counts. Full wrap to start, needs a 5.91. Nice float on the finish. A 2-turn combo to try to send Stu and Connor into round 2 and trying to get it done on the buzzer. Remember his 6-1-0, he had a better wave to work with. This time he needed a 5.91, but that's just that intensity that De Souza always brings when he gets ready to compete.
Yeah, well, it's going to be tight, that's for sure. Let's have a look. The judges are having a look at this again, and let's have a look at the finish here. Didn't quite stomp that, did he? I mean, it was not a very exciting end of the wave. Nice opening turn, though. Judges have already locked in their score, Joe.
And the decision is clear, 4.2, not enough. Stu Kennedy is able to take the big win in round 1 over world champ De Souza and Connor Coffin. You can see how much this one means to him. He's got the fight in him. He's got a big road ahead of him to requalify. And his first accomplishment is complete here at the Quiksilver Pro.
You are going to see a lot of emotion in this event because guys are desperate for results, so I love that from Stu Kennedy.
Coming up next, Owen Wright takes on Bede Durbridge and Nat Young. We'll be right back.